All praise to the Most High, YAHAYAH, and to his son, YAHAYAH Messiah, YAHAYAH. This is Brother Holly here with the second Spirit of Truth broadcast here on their High House channel, as well as the House of YAHAYAH channel on this set-apart Sabbath day. First and foremost, as always, let's give all glory, praise, and honor to the great I am, he who is, was, and is to come, the Almighty One, YAHAYAH, and to his son, YAHAYAH Messiah, who gave himself for us that we might have life, and that life is in him, YAHAYAH. Now, in this second broadcast, it's going to be pretty brief. We're going to go over a few scriptures from the book of Sirach, the book of Revelation, and from the book of Sirach and the epistles of Paul to show more and more precepting from the apocryphal books, the book of Sirach in particular, found in the New Testament. In the first broadcast, we saw some precepting from the book of Jubilees, which is even more of an ancient apocryphal book, being precept in the Apocrypha as well as in the Old Testament. But in this broadcast, we're going to continue on this theme of precepting from the Apocrypha in showing that the Apocrypha can be trusted as a source of inspired scripture, divinely inspired words of truth. All praises. We'll be reading from His Word, Hebrew, Yashvalite Scriptures, 400 Years of Slavery edition. Turn me to the book of Sirach, or Ecclesiasticus, chapter 19. Let's start reading at verse 18. This is Sirach 19:18. The fear of YAHAYAH is the first step to be accepted of him, and wisdom obtains his love, will you highlight? Did not the Apostle Paul in all his epistles talk about the gaining of understanding and wisdom? He sure did. In Ephesians chapter 1, he talked about we being filled with the knowledge of his will and all wisdom and spiritual understanding. Talks about it in the first chapter of Colossae as well. Let's read it again. The fear of YAHAYAH is the first step to be accepted of him, and wisdom attains his love. Verse 19, this is Sirach 19:19. The knowledge of the commandments of YAHAYAH is the doctrine of life, and they that do things that please him shall receive the fruit of the tree of immortality, will you highlight? So it says here that the commandments of YAHAYAH are the doctrine of life. These are the things that tend toward life. If you want to have life, the Messiah said in Luke 10, keep the commandments. If you want to enter into life, he said, keep the commandments. And here in the book of Sirach, it says that in the keeping of the commandments, you will be given access to the fruit of the tree of immortality, or the tree of life. Will you highlight? Now hold your place in Sirach 19. Let's turn on to Revelation chapter 22. Let's see this same thought being communicated in the New Testament. I'll read it again. Sirach 19:19. The knowledge of the commandments of YAHAYAH is the doctrine of life, and they that do things that please him shall receive the fruit of the tree of immortality. Now let's see what the New Testament says in the book of Revelation on this same thought. Revelation chapter 22. And one thing I like about this particular version of the scripture is highly has wonderful looking illustrations in it. Revelation 22. Let's start reading at verse 12. Revelation 22:12. It says, behold, I come quickly. My reward is with me to give to every man according as his work shall be. I am the Aleph Tav, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. Blessed are they that do his commandments. This is verse 14. This is Revelation chapter 22, verse 14. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life and may enter in through the gates into the city. Will you highlight if you haven't already? The same thought is being communicated. It says here in Revelation, you're blessed if you keep the commandments. And by keeping the commandments, by the blessing that comes from keeping the commandments, you'll be given right to the tree of life. Let's read it. Let's read the same thought being communicated 400 or 500 years earlier in the book of Sirach. 500 years easily before John the Revelator wrote that on the Isle of Patmos. This was written in the book of Sirach. And you can go ahead and Google it. Did the early apostles have access to the apocryphal books? Did they know of them? Is it possible? Is it plausible? And if you talk to anyone who is reputable, they'll just have to admit that. Why do I say that with such amount of authority? First of all, I myself have done that. I've gone out and done the research. So that's why I speak so authoritatively about it. And we see things like I'm pointing out right now. We see concepts and precepts found in the books, in the apocryphal books, being reiterated in the New Testament writings. And this is just tip of the iceberg. The Apostle Paul liberally quoted from the apocryphal books, and in the weeks to come, we will demonstrate it again and again. But let's suffice it to say, here's a direct quote. Same thing. Commandment keeping leads to access to the tree of life. Let's read it in Sirach first. Sirach 19:19. The knowledge of the commandments of YAHAYAH is the tree of life, and they that do things that please him shall receive the fruit of the tree of immortality. Revelation 22:14. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city. One, if you keep the commandments and do as pleasing in the Most High sight, you'll eat from the fruit of the tree of life. In the other, you're blessed if you keep the commandments, because then you'll have a right to enter into the city to where the tree of life is and partake of it. Oh, praises. Same thought. 500 years apart. Oh, praises. Because it's the same spirit inspiring the writers. The one spirit. The Kodashia spirit of YAHAYAH inspired Sirach to write what he wrote, inspired John the Revelator to write what he wrote. And we found out last week when we read the things found in the Revelation, we're blessed if we read it and do it. So here's something we can do. It says, blessed are they that keep his commandments. We can do that. If we want right to the tree of life, or if we want to eat from the fruit of the tree of immortality, we do well to keep the commandments. We do well to keep the commandments. All praises. We ain't done yet. Turn over in the book of Sirach, if you have it, to Sirach 34. Let's get a precept, a short one, from the book of Sirach, and we're going to cross-reference it to the works of the Apostle Paul. This is just tip of the iceberg, children. Sirach chapter 34. Let's start reading at verse 1. It says, the hope of a man void of understanding are vain and false, and dreams lift up fools. Whoso regardeth dreams is like him that catches at a shadow and follows after the wind. The vision of dreams is the resemblance of one thing to another, even as the likeness of a face to a face. Verse 4 is the key that I want to bring out. Of an unclean thing, what can be cleansed? And from that thing which is false, what truth can come? Now that kind of language is repeated in the Pauline epistles, is it not? Let's turn over to 2 Corinthians and let's see it. 2 Corinthians chapter 6. I'll read Sirach 34:4 again. Of an unclean thing, what can be cleansed? And from that thing which is false, what truth can come? Let's see that thought being communicated. That's communicated in Sirach, chapter 34, let's see if the Apostle Paul went on that same line of thinking or was prompted by the Spirit to make that kind of comparison. 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14, be ye not unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship has righteousness with unrighteousness? In Sirach it says, what clean thing can come from the unclean? Here it says, what fellowship does righteousness have with unrighteousness? In both instances, nothing clean can come from the unclean thing, and there is no fellowship of righteousness with unrighteousness. And what communion have light with darkness? Once again, just like a clean thing can't come from an unclean thing, or a lie can't be the truth, as it's spoken of here in the book of Sirach, back here in the book of 2 Corinthians, the Apostle Paul said, what fellowship has light with darkness? None is the answer. Here in Sirach it asks, what truth can come from a lie? We'll read it again. Sirach 34:4. Of an unclean thing, what can be cleansed? And from that thing which is false, what truth can come? The answer is none. Did not the Apostle Paul says no lies of the truth? Wow, same thing being communicated. Once again, Paul precepted, or the writings of the Apostle Paul can be precept from the Apocrypha. I'll read it again from the Apocrypha. Of an unclean thing, what can be cleansed? This is Sirach 34:4. And from that thing which is false, what truth can come? The Apostle Paul over here in 2 Corinthians chapter 6, I read verse 14 again. Be not unequally yoked together with unbelievers, for what fellowship have righteousness with unrighteousness? Answer, none. And what communion have light with darkness? Answer, none. And what concord hath Messiah with the worshippers of Baal? None. And what part hath he that believes with an infidel? None. And what agreement hath the temple of YAHAYAH with idols? None. For you are the temple of the living YAHAYAH, as YAHAYAH hath said, I will walk among you, and I will be your YAHAYAH, and ye shall be my people. Now, the next verse in this version of the scriptures, I like it a lot, because it's a precept from the book of Isaiah, but they copied the precept down instead of what the Greek version said of that precept. They just copied the precept as it is written, and you'll hear the difference in a moment. I'll read it again. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 16. And what agreement hath the temple of YAHAYAH with idols? For you are the temple of the living YAHAYAH, as YAHAYAH hath said, and I will walk among you, and will be your YAHAYAH, and ye shall be my people. Depart ye, go ye out from thence. Touch no unclean thing. Go you out from the midst of her. Be ye clean, and bear the vessels of YAHAYAH. Now, in your standard King James Bible, that verse ain't rendered the same way. That's how it's rendered in the book of Isaiah, even in your standard King James. But here, in this particular version, they have taken the precept as it was given and copied it verbatim here in the text, in the New Testament. Wow, I like that. Verse 18, again, they're still precepting from the book of Isaiah. For I am a father to Yasha'Allah, and Ephraim is my firstborn, saith YAHAYAH Almighty. Oh, praises! Now, I'm gonna read you the difference. I've just grabbed the nearest one, the Nassim version. We're going to 2 Corinthians in here. We're going to read what it says in the same verse, and you'll see the difference. Now, this wasn't part of my presentation for the day. This is from the Nassim in that same version, 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 16, and it says, "From what union hath the Messiah of YAHAYAH with idols? For you are a temple of the living YAHAYAH, as YAHAYAH hath said, I will dwell in them and walk among them, and I shall be their Allahayah, and they shall be my people." Now, verse 17 is where it differs. It stays with the standard rendering from your King James Bible. To the most part, we'll hear it. "Therefore, come out from among them and be separate, saith YAHAYAH. Touch not what is unclean, and I shall receive you, and I shall be a father to you, and you shall be sons and daughters to me, says YAHAYAH al Shaddai." But what does it say here in his word Hebrew Yahshua scriptures for 2 Corinthians chapter 17 and 18? It says exactly what it says in the book of Isaiah. Depart ye, go ye out from thence. Touch no unclean thing. Go ye out of the midst of her. Be ye clean that bear the vessels of YAHAYAH. For I am a father to Yasha'Allah. See, it tells you the people that the Apostle Paul was writing to. It lets you know that he wasn't talking about just anybody, or as the Constantine Christians love to say, whosoever believe. Ain't talking about you believe in nothing. What does it say? For I am a father to Yasha'Allah, and Ephraim is my firstborn, says YAHAYAH Almighty. All praises. Now, I don't agree with this version a lot, but this I like. And they have gone through and given a great deal of precepting in this. They don't give the cross references per se in this, but they highlight the verses that are precept. They're colored blue. Maybe you can see it if I hold it up. Oh, this is all. I don't want this one to fall apart too. But as you can see, the verses are in blue that have been precept. So I let you know that those verses are a precept, and those precepts are usually, in this particular version of the scriptures, they're usually from the Old Testament. That they do very little precepting from the Apocrypha, as I have endeavored to do, and I have shown you here today, and there's much more than that. But suffice it to say, I like the rendering here that they gave in 2 Corinthians chapter 6, for who is not to touch the unclean, and who are his people, that he'll be a father to Yasha'Allah. It's Yasha'Allah who are his sons and daughters. That's according to Torah. That's according to the book of Deuteronomy. That Yasha'Allah are his sons and daughters. So it sticks with the context. It sticks with the precepts. The way they rendered here is exactly how it's rendered in Isaiah. I salute you. Good job, y'all. And in closing, we will continue to bring out more and more precepts from the Apocrypha, showing you in them being utilized in the New Testament. If you will keep the commandments, you will have access to eat and right to eat from the tree of immortality. Be blessed are you who keep the commandments, for you shall have right to the tree of life and enter into the gates, into the city. All praises to the Most High, and to his Son, YAHAYAH Messiah. YAHAYAH.